Hi, I'm Sherry. Welcome back to my channel. We are continuing with our building block series. Building blocks are the key components that you need to piece together in order to create a successful event. Tonight we're going to be talking about an MC. Who is the MC? They are the master of ceremonies, and typically the first person your audience sees at the start of the event. They are a direct representation of you and your event. The MC could be someone you hire, it could be an internal staff person, or it could even be you. That person's job is to keep the schedule going, to keep a good even flow throughout the event, to keep the agenda on time, to introduce the speakers, as well as create the energy in the room with the attendees, whether it's to create high energy to keep them from falling asleep, or to calm them down after they've been excited from another speaker. The important thing you need to keep in mind when deciding who's going to be your MC is how well do they know you, the promoter, and the event, as well as the attendees and your speakers. It's very simple to make that happen. You just have to take the time to meet with that MC prior to the event, while you're at the event, and before and after each day. Things change on site, so they need to keep up with what's happening. A good MC will take the time to get to know the speakers outside of just the bio that they've been handed before they get on stage. For example, they'll ask questions of how do you want to make a direct communication with the audience? What do you want them to gain from hearing you speak? How does what you're presenting tie in to the rest of the event? That MC will take the time to talk about that prior to introducing the speaker. When I have an opportunity to work with an MC at an event, I take the time to sit down with them prior to the event even beginning. We go through the event together, the agenda, talk about the speakers, our objectives in working together as a team, and how we can help one another make the event go successful and smoothly. What you can do is take the time to do that yourself. The best way to do that is to find out from the MC what they need from you and what you can do for them to help make their job a lot more smoother and better for you. A great way to get to know your MC is to take the time to know them prior to them even arriving to your event. Learn things from them by having conversations over the phone, talking to people who've hired them before to MC for their event, to find out from them what they liked most in working with that person. Then, when you get the opportunity to talk with the MC, you can find out if they can bring that same energy to your event and ask them in return what would they like to do to liven up your event, to have fun, to bring the energy to the room. For example, one of the MCs that I've worked with in the past does really great dancing, has lots of fun exercises, and uses humor from stage. That's something, if given permission, MCs love to do. They just need to know from you as the promoter if that's something that you're okay with them doing. The one thing I want you to realize is how important the MC's role is. Like I said, whether it's you doing the role or someone in your office doing the role, instead of investing in a professional MC, it's very important that you take the time to have an MC for your event. That person has to create the energy throughout the entire event, keep the flow of the event going, take the time to communicate with the speakers, learn who they are, learn what they want to say from stage, connect that to every single part of the event so that it makes sense as the next speaker comes on. Then when they get off the stage, the MC goes on and they kind of wrap up what the speaker has said and carries that throughout the entire event. If you think that it's not wise to invest into a good MC, think about how that could really affect the successfulness of your event, how the attendees will feel connected to what's going on in the event. So think about that. The role of an MC is extremely important. take the time to realize what are those pieces and parts in the event that the attendees need to know about. For example, the break times. If there's a time where a break has to be shortened, is that something that you're going to be able to do on the fly? Or do you think it would be so much better for the MC, who that's their only responsibility is to keep the flow of the event going, to take care of? Announcements that need to be made. Let's say you as the promoter are working on something else going on in the event and you need to make an announcement. You can't be doing two things at one time. So that's another reason why an MC is important to an event. Another reason is because if a speaker, for example, is going to be ending their session early, like I said before with the mic of an MC, they can hop right up on stage, pick it right up, maybe even keep the speaker on stage to ask some questions, and then go on to the next thing that's happening. If you as the promoter have to be responsible for making that announcement, you need to make sure you're in the room at all times. How can you do that as well as connect with the attendees, take care of other things if your role is the MC? Have you ever thought about having raffle prizes or some fun, funky things going on? How about throwing t-shirts into the audience? Things like that to keep the audience engaged, having fun, really getting the energy up throughout the entire event. Let's say you have prizes that need to be given away. That is a role that the MC can play. Again, having that communication with your MC, whether it's through yourself, your event planner, or maybe even a key employee. Someone has to have that responsibility of making sure that the MC knows that you have raffle prizes to give away, tickets that need to be drawn, t-shirts that you want thrown out into the audience, and when you want that to happen. They can also do special announcements about sign up for next year's event now. Don't forget, see the staff in the back of the room, or do a wrap up of what has already taken place earlier on in the event with sales. Let's say yourself as the promoter has been trying to sell a big high ticket item throughout the event. You don't want to have to keep coming back on stage and making that same announcement over and over again. Well, a really great MC can tie that in throughout the entire event without it sounding salesy. And he'll remind everyone, don't forget, on our break, go back and see the sales team in the back of the room. By having an MC throughout the entire event, they can continue to do a wrap-up every time a speaker exits the stage. They can tell the audience, what is your takeaway from that speaker? So many times you'll see people taking pictures of the slides that up on the screen, or repeatedly trying to take notes as fast as they can throughout the event. Well, an MC's job is to remind them, you've got a lot to hear and a lot to learn, so just take one big takeaway from each speaker. And a lot of times it's overwhelming for the audience and the attendees to know that, or to even remember it, because they just want to just absorb so much of it. So a really good MC will remind them of that throughout the entire event. And if you're video recording your sessions, the MC can remind them, hey, don't forget, you can go and get the recordings in the back of the room, or however it is that you're selling the recordings. But the key part of this is to remind them what their big takeaways are. They can even go into the audience and kind of play around with the audience with questions throughout the event if there's time to kill. There's so many things and so many responsibilities that a really good MC does. And I want to just let you know, don't forget to keep that in mind when you're thinking about, should I invest in an MC or maintain that responsibility and role myself? It's important that the MC knows the agenda inside and out, so make sure you take the time to meet with them. A really great idea is to do a dry run rehearsal before the event even begins. That can be with the MC on stage, making the housekeeping announcements, maybe even doing a quick intro, dancing on stage, whatever that MC does prior to the event even beginning, so that they can understand how the stage is going to work. Sometimes the stage is a little creaky. feel how the microphone feels on them, so if there's adjustments that they need to make, they have the time to do so and not have to worry about it during the middle of the event. Plus, you guys can rehearse what's going to happen now when we do the opening. When do you want me to come up on stage? How do you want me to introduce you? And again, if you are the promoter and you don't want to invest in an MC, you're going to have to come up on stage without anyone else introducing you first. So keep that in mind. It's important for the MC to have someone there that they can rely on when it comes to decision making. So if it's going to be you, make sure the MC knows where you are if he needs to decide on, we're going to end the session early, we're going to shorten the break, any kind of thing that's going to decide how the agenda flow goes. That person needs to be in the room or at least have an ongoing communication with the MC so that they know they're making the right decision on your behalf. For me, for example, when I'm on site for a client and I'm the direct point of contact for the MC, I always do some kind of, hand signal from the back. He and I or she and I will have this communication prior to the event saying, this is when it's okay to go, or now we need to stop, all kinds of signs that they can just continue to talk as they're looking for me in the back of the room. So you can do that as well. So make sure you take the time to go over all of these details with your MC prior to the event so that they know that they can keep the energy of the event going, the flow of the agenda going, as well as that they need to make on-the-fly adjustments with no issues. Make sure you provide housekeeping notes to your MC. Most MCs will have their own housekeeping notes that they will want to say from stage. However, during your meeting with them, make sure you provide your own housekeeping notes to go along with them. The list of housekeeping notes that you may want to provide would include things like turn off your cell phones, make sure they're on vibrate. We don't want to have any cell phones going off. Some people like to add humor into it as well by saying so-and-so in the audience is going to bounce you out of the room. You may even want to say things like, if I hear your cell phone go off, it's an automatic $50 donation to our charity. Something else that you can add to the list of housekeeping notes is things like we're going to have 15-20 minute breaks where you can go out and have coffee, announcing where their lunch meals may be, if there's going to be any special functions that they need to worry about throughout the event, important things like that. Also, you can have the MC go through the registration materials. That's especially if they're getting a lot of registration materials when they check in, such as a bag or maybe even a product brochure or information about sponsors. That brings me to another point in regards to housekeeping notes. If you have sponsors, is it the MC's job to announce who those sponsors are and for them to go visit those sponsors? That's really up to you. Most announcements come directly from the MC. However, if you as the promoter really want to be the one that talks about the sponsors, then just have the MC bring you up on stage so that they keep in mind the MC is the first person they see and hear and listen to so that they know, okay, standing attention, it's time to pay attention to what's going on stage. So the MC can bring you up on stage and you can talk about the sponsors, who they are, make sure that they come and visit them, things like that. So it's really your choice, whether it's yourself or the MC, to talk about sponsors. If you have time throughout the event for the MC to capture some aha moments, or maybe even takeaways that you can get on film, on video, then feel free to give permission to the MC to do so. They will find the appropriate times throughout the event to go out into the audience or maybe even bring someone up on stage to find out from them how things are going. What was your big takeaway from so-and-so who spoke earlier today? Or what did you think of this? You continue on asking questions that will bring you great value after the event that you can use for marketing, as well as getting a connection with the audience and making them feel like they're actually part of the event. When it comes to picking the right MC, make sure that you know who and what they're all about. Do a little research on your own. If they came as a referral, then make sure you talk to the person who referred them to find out how they did, what they did for them that they liked best, and if they did anything that they didn't particularly care for, so that you can address it with the MC when you do the interview with them. It's really best to go with an MC that you know pretty much what you're getting when you hire them. A reason for that is you don't want a self-promoting MC from stage. What I mean by that is they are there to represent you, not themselves. By them doing a great job for you, they're already doing a good representation for themselves. They don't need to talk about themselves. They're not there to say who they are. They are there to say who you are and what the event is all about. So keep that in mind when you're considering who you're going to hire for an MC. Hey everybody, I hope you're really enjoying this video and are getting some really great content out of it. I covered a lot in regards to who an MC is and why it's important to have one for your event. Please feel free to leave your comments and questions below. We are looking to receive some comments and questions for a future Q&A session. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on your notifications, don't forget to smash that like button. If you'd like to reach out to me directly, here's my email. See you soon!